that end.
When you get your machine, you're going to set a master rail. That master rail is all measurements are going to go off the highest point of the concrete. So you have to transit that concrete, find the highest point. From there, you will level both the X, Y, and make sure the Z axis is aligned all the way down the rail from start to finish. Once that's done, you can do the opposite side. Once the opposite rail is set, we will want to check for level in both the X and Y, and then height in the Z, and keep it consistent with the master rail. We'll also want to check for square to make sure we're not creating a parallelogram and making sure that the rails are perfectly parallel to each other.
Take it.
It's this one. Stop.
So what we're looking at here is our gearbox. The sprocket here can only fit on the gear rack a certain way, so we have to make sure that the gearboxes are on the right side. You'll notice this cylindrical part that hooks to the motor itself will be facing the front of the machine and will be up. We'll have some bolts that slide right through these holes, and we'll have a spacer that goes in between the gearbox and the gantry itself when we mount it. Now, you will want to put a little bit of anti-seize on the threads of the bolts and on this sleeve of the gearbox itself.
Actually sit in the hole.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Unstarted. Okay. I wouldn't get too out yet, because it's way, we got a big gap.
Wait, we get the, I can get it. Yeah.
What is, I don't,
This one right here.
is there another one in,
The toolbox?
in the toolbox? Leave one of those 6 mils.
Yep, this one.
Okay, cool. Okay, once we set the motor into the gearbox, we want to make sure that the cables are able to plug in towards the top of the motor so that the ports are going to be pointing up. Okay? We're going to have 3 different cables. These 2 will go into the motor, and then we'll have the ground, which will go on the gearbox. That's going to need a 17mm wrench. Now, before you start hooking everything up, we are going to have to use a 6mm Allen and tighten the set screws on the coupler connecting the motor to the gearbox itself. So make sure to align those before you put the motor in. Well, that's right. It's just off. There it is. Once those set screws are tightened inside the gearbox to the motor shaft, we can go ahead and put these little caps on top of those. Now remember, There is a set screw on the top and a set screw on the bottom. Make sure to tighten both of them and put both caps back on. Lucky and we're not on any cables. Pull this thing down.
I think how small it is, I think, can make a difference if we're. No, no, same right here. Oh, right.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Gas hoses. Okay. Is there a full plate that goes on here, or is that just how it goes?
That's how it goes.
Maybe too high. You get those Allen keys?
I'll set them up.
This is that backwards one up on the top.
Okay. You want to go to this side of this?
Yeah.
This one should skip. Okay. Backwards one is on.
So this one's going to be the one right below it. Should be.
Plasma marking this into the gas console. So does on the back side for this? This is thread here.
Yeah. Well, it's got a piece of black tape on the other side.
Perfect. So we might be able to just crank it. Okay, try it on it. It's the Okay.
Boom. There we go. So we're going to find a few ground cables with all of our cabling from the cable carrier rack. They're going to be labeled 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll also have a pilot arc cable and a real big ground cable that will all go into this gray box that you'll have to take the cap off and then wire up. Everything will be labeled, so it'll be very easy to plug in. Once you're done, go ahead and put this lid back on. And as you can tell, we are going to have to take the two side panels off the machine in order to finish up all of our wiring. So once we've got the orange control panel cable into the control panel, we're going to have 4 cables that we're going to want to plug in. The thicker 4 are going to be your power cables, and they'll be labeled L1, 2, and 3, and then you'll have your ground. L2, 1, 2, and 3 will be right here and labeled 1, 2, 3. The ground will go right up here into the ground lug. Now the 4 smaller cables will be labeled 3, 4, 5. Nope. Will be labeled 5, 6, 7.
Start that over the smaller cables.
So the 4 smaller cables will be labeled 5, 6, 7. And they will go right here, and those parts are labeled 5, 6, 7, where you're going to put those in. Now in order to tighten those cables down, you'll need a very small flathead screwdriver for the 5, 6, 7, a 4mm Allen for the line 1, 2, 3, and then a larger flathead screwdriver for the ground. All the gas hoses coming into the machine will be labeled themselves, but on the receiving end on this wall, they will not be labeled. There are only 2 hoses that can be switched around. All the other ones have their own unique threads. Those 2 hoses will be the plasma marking and the plasma gas. You'll notice that the plasma marking has a black rubber band, more or less, on one end. You'll also have the same black rubber band on the back side. That makes sure so you get the correct connection. Other than that, the edges or the fittings with the notches are reverse thread. The ones without notches are regular right-handed thread. And make sure to use 2 different wrenches, one on the back and one on the front, while tightening these in order to make sure so it doesn't slip.
that's you good there?
Yep.
Gonna work for you? Kind of smoothish. I'll start taking this. Start taking this out. Nozzle, right? Right.
Electrode negative. Nozzle, pilot. Might be like Owen or something.
Okay. Where you at? Give me this here. Start. No. I have to smell it. Arms won't go in. Supposed to be no 18 inches apart from each other, or a separate track.
So right here on this, inside this panel, we'll have 3 ground leads. This top one will be your nozzle. The one on the left will be your work lead going to the table. And this one down here will be your electrode, or going to the torch. So inside here we also have our interface cable and our arc link cable. We don't want to forget to put on the felt washers and covers onto the cassettes of the gantry. You'll only get 4 felt washers, so you're going to want to put those on the outside of the cassettes of each one. Very easy to put these on. They're a little tight, but make sure you get them in there.
And then there was.
Once the felt washer is in, we're going to put the cover on. You're going to want to put the gray side facing out. Before you put your covers in, make sure that all the cabling is up off the ground and you're not dragging anything. Make sure we've got some zip ties positions here and just keep it all nice and clean. The panel on the left will have these notches, the other one will not. So this emergency shutoff cable will mount just like this in these access panels and then string all the way around. We also have these covers on the ends. The hole will be on the bottom, and the bolt holes, the fit configuration will only go one way. Carrier on the other side, it would have been easier on the other one.
Yeah, it's all good.
There it is. Before you put your covers in, make sure that all the cabling is up off the ground and you're not dragging anything. Make sure we've got some zip ties positions here and just keep it all nice and clean. The panel on the left will have these notches, the other one will not.
It works.
got a nut. Okay.
We'll probably push it like that. Will that work for a second?
Yeah.
Go ahead. This has never been cut on.
You got a whole lot of room on your right.
I don't have long enough force.
Closer to this side.
Closer to this side?
Let me get your, let's call it 7 and 5 inches. Yeah. Iggy just went back to relieve Jack.